Yeah.
excited, you know what I mean? And like,
But,
"Ooh,
I
is that
mean,
how we
that's
get
what
killer
kinda
clowns?"
the only thing that saved that movie for me was that little Helga lady
Yeah,
throughout the whole movie just having no fucking clue of what the fuck was
nope,
going on.
none.
That
I
was
actually
the
liked
only
it. I thought it was lighthearted, almost like Arachnophobia. Arachnophobia, ugh,
Oh,
that
no.
movie, I still check my slippers to this
Yeah.
day.
See, and
I
Oh,
that
even
was
didn't watch
crazy
Helga.
because
Arachnophobia.
I grew up as a kid. I got arachnophobia by waking up and having, like, a wolf spiders on my
Ugh,
hand. So that,
yeah.
like, instantly gave me arachnophobia, and then when that movie come out, of
There's
course, what did we, do as, teenagers? We went, it's like, "Oh, let's go see it." It's like, "Yeah." So that was
there's
the
a,
first time in a movie that I've actually realized that I have a fear of spiders in movies as well.
Yep.
there's a movie prior to Arachnophobia that I have and it's a spider movie, but it's due to tarantulas overtaking a town, a desert town. I can't remember the name of the movie, but I
Isn't it
clearly
called
remember.
Tarantula?
Yeah, I might be. It might very well have been called that, but I clearly remember like a woman
Hmm.
sleeping in bed and the bed just being full of tarantulas, and them going and trying to escape this town by getting into a airplane and it being full of like
Hmm.
I
How old was it?
oh
Yeah,
it was
It was called
70s,
Tarantula.
I think it's
Nine
called
70s.
Tarantula.
Yeah, there was the original Tarantula was in 1955.
There's a Japanese movie called Tarantula as
Oh
well,
man.
which is old.
Yeah, this one here,
I
the
can do
The
one
giant
clowns,
spider.
man. I could do a clown movie. I could do it. Well, I kids
and they had a
creep
Kingdom of the
me out a
Spiders in
little. Kid movie,
1977, that's
like
probably the
kid
one.
horror movies, creep me out. Like The Omen.
Yeah, The Omen was
Mm,
good. I like The Omen.
Yeah, I like
yeah,
because which one did they just remake? They remade The
The
Omen,
fir
didn't they?
No, they added to it. So basically,
Oh,
it's a
okay.
prequel, the first Omen, and I think they did a really good job leading into the rest of the chapters of the Omen. I think they did
Oh,
a
okay.
really good job with it. It was pretty graphic as well.
Because I watched The Omen. I mean, I watched it several times. I like The Omen. I don't
Oh,
know,
yeah, it's great.
but
I wish we had
I like all those old movies like that. I mean,
in B-rated movies. I wish that we had in this generation a Corey Haim and a Corey Feldman duo that
Yeah.
could almost like a Silent Bob and Jay duo of comedy, but in horror aspects of it. Like we don't have that anymore.
No, no. The only thing that we have that has a comedy aspect, well, no, we don't, would be, Lost Boys.
mm,
That's where we see Feldman and Haim,
Y-
in
Yeah,
the
and they
movie.
do have a Lost Boys sequel, but
Yep,
it was a
that didn't do
failed flop because
that
of
didn't do good at
Corey.
all.
Yeah, and it wasn't that during the time that something happened to Corey Haim, I believe, through.
I'm not sure.
But yeah,
so I mean,
there's a couple of horror movies I like to see like redone. Um, Like, I love to see, what was it? Michael Myers, the one with the young kid that played Michael Myers. Rob Zombie's version of Michael Myers
Oh, yeah, yeah.
has to
Halloween.
be continued, I think. Yeah, the Halloween series with that one child. I wish that they.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but the blonde boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
I
think he did
wish that.
good.
Well,
yeah.
Rob, if you're listening,
Well, the thing is, well, he got in trouble for the last Halloween movie, so he's not allowed to make any.
why did he
Because
get in
people get
trouble?
upset.
Yeah,
I thought his Halloween chapters, I enjoy them, I own
Yeah,
them. Um, I understand why people diehard fans were a little upset with Zombies Michael. I get that. I understand that. And the family dynamic and the way they did things. But he wanted to do something different and in that same realm. At least he wasn't as bad as the new friggin' chapters. I mean, those
yeah.
3 are horrific pieces of shit. I mean, I don't even
yeah.
consider them a part of the whole Halloween franchise. That's a whole other universe. That's like Marvel shit. They can just
It got too personal.
they just
I
they
mean,
changed everything about it.
yeah. I mean, it's just like Halloween 3. It's just like What is it? The Season of the Witch?
Season of the Witch. I love that
Yeah.
one, but even the name, um, even inside, the Season of the Witch, like on the cover, it tells you that it's not Michael.
Yeah.
Right? But everybody, when it first came out, everybody thought Halloween, we're gonna have Michael Myers, and Carpenter didn't wanna have a second Halloween. He wanted a Halloween movie, but not done with Michael. But the producers like, "No, we saw that money. We want one with Michael." So
Yeah, that's what I mean. The Halloween 3 wasn't bad, but like you said, everybody's expected to see like the continuation of Michael Myers,
yeah.
and then it wasn't in there. So, but yeah, no,
I
I
mean,
think like with I think with Rob Zombie's movies, the two Halloweens, I really loved his take, especially like when they went through the drive-through or the drive-in, and I mean, it's one of those things when I think of things like promotional wise, it's like, man, that would have been cool to be able to see it at a drive-in and actually have some characters out in there scaring the holy bejesus out of everybody as they were watching the movie.
Yep. And when, Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, that was done. Oh my goodness, I am blanking on his name at the moment, but he went to theaters in his area. He got kicked out because he was going through and actually scaring people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
do,
It's just
do we talk about? Okay, so my favorite slasher movie, I would have to say, is Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nice.
But I am not a fan of the remake that they made.
I've
Uh,
never seen the remake because I refuse to watch it.
thank
Even Wes Craven
you,
didn't want it to happen.
thank you.
yeah, because
But what
they
I'm
didn't even
upset
use the
about is
original
that
Freddy.
Robert Englund has officially retired his Freddy Krueger stance.
Yeah.
Like he's turned around and said that he cannot replace the role because he doesn't want to have like a stuntman do all the physical work.
Yeah.
So, because he
But
used to do all the physical work.
yeah, I think I have not a replacement, but if we were ever to get another Nightmare on Elm Street, I honestly think, David Howard Thornton from Terrifier could do a Freddy. I'm not saying he'd be exact like Robert Englund. He has the lanky body. He is a professional mime. He makes Terrifier, even though it's a serious horror, he has a lot of comedy in it without saying a word. I don't know if you've seen Terrifier, but Art the Clown says nothing in any of these movies. He uses his body language and his facial expressions as a mime. I think he would be able to do a really good Freddy. I saw his, audition for Joker. No, sorry, his audition for the first Terrifier, and then I saw him, in a short movie playing as Joker. I think he would be good as a Freddy. I'm not
Hmm.
saying that you could replace Robert Englund because you can't. Like,
Yeah.
there is only one Robert Englund.
But
He is Freddy.
you could still have a director find the nostalgia of the '80s,
Yeah.
and kind of still have a great Freddy Krueger movie.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know, like
I think they could be done, for sure.
like I don't even know how that movie came out, and like I cried in that movie. I was like, "What have they done? Like, what
Well,
are
and
they
it seems like
doing?"
with all the
And like,
new like the
why did
remix
that? Like,
movies, they
I believe that the dude that signed on to be Freddy believed that he was going to be making a movie like Freddy Krueger, like Robert Englund, and then he sat through the screening going, "Oh my god, they made me
Yeah.
look like a really creepy pet."
Well, I mean, it's insinuated in the first one, but Wes purposely took that away, so it's not in your face what he did. He was a
Yeah,
child killer, and he was
yeah.
only a child killer. It was insinuated that he did other things, but in the remake, they literally
They
put
went
that in
blasting
there,
it
and
oh,
on.
wow.
it was like I haven't watched it because I refuse to watch it. It's in my collection because I collect DVDs
Yeah.
and Blu-rays, but I have not watched it at all and will not watch it.
Yeah, like I say,
Yeah.
it seems like when they do the remake of some of these things, it's like they do it. You always hear about these industry plants and everything else and stuff like that. It just seems to me like they just find people that I really don't know where they find them at, but they don't
I
do a
really
good
believe
job
the
like
guy
with the
that played
remakes.
Freddy when he went to the screening, like, afterwards watching the movie, looked behind him to all the directors and producers, like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, any sensible actor would have done that after that movie, like, that's how bad it was. Like, I gave Jason versus Freddy, that is, like, a top 10 now movie after seeing that Nightmare
Oh,
on
I
Elm
love
Street.
Jason vs. Freddy.
Yeah, man. That was pure Robert England,
Yeah, it was
puns and
a good
all.
time.
I think the only one out of the Jason remakes, like me and Gunn talked about this the other night, was Jason Takes Manhattan.
I
That's
love that one. That's my
that's the only
favorite
one.
one.
That's the only one I don't think I got into because one, you're not used to seeing Jason in a big
Fucking
city
Ghetto
setting.
Blaster scene? What?
The Ghetto Blaster scene is funny, but let's be real here. Jason is the juggernaut of death. Do you honestly think he would have let anybody in the streets of New York live? Everybody would
No.
be dead.
Yeah,
Everybody
every
would be dead.
single person that he met would be like
That's what I'm
They
saying.
would be dead in the most violent way ever. But
I
no,
even
here he is, all animated and shit.
I'm a fan of Jason X too,
I
folks.
love Jason X.
Yeah, like
It
the
opens
an
up for a sequel to Earth 2 because we
yeah,
see that Jason literally comes down from outer space on fire and lands into Earth 2 Lake. We That opened up a whole new pathway to do Friday the 13th on
yeah.
Earth 2.
So I guess I haven't seen that one yet. I mean, I've seen the
Oh
previews to
my
it, but I've never seen it.
goodness.
Oh,
Great kills.
it's
The best thing about the Friday the 13th franchise, even if some of the chapters suck, like Jason Goes to Hell, the kills are still fabulous.
Oh
They're
yeah.
over the top, they're dramatic, they're creative, they're awesome. And Jason X has some gnarly kills in it. It's good.
so I just recently yesterday watched one of the I guess Halloween Christmas classics, Gremlins. And at 50 years old, I've just realized a discrepancy in the film. I would just like to announce I find it weird that he dove into a pool and had all the replications done. And then at the end of the movie, he's standing on a working fucking fountain that is dripping all over him. And the only thing that he needed to do was put his finger in it while other water was dripping on him. And then all of a sudden he was able to like hold it all in right at
Yeah.
the end. Yeah, never understood that.
I
Never
love
understood
Gremlins. It's
that.
such a dark Christmas movie.
That's one
Yeah.
thing I seen I seen, because they have all these since CGI and stuff like that and AIs come out, that they've got these people that spend all this little extra money and they remake all these trailers to these new movies, or they remake trailers to movies and make you think that that's actually the movie that's coming out.
Yeah, there's a lot of fake movies out there. Facebook started it, and we can blame Facebook because Facebook was the first one to bring out paid posts.
Mm.
So you had the opportunity, if your post got traction, likes, yada yada, you would get paid for that content. So then people were starting to use AI to create fake Rob Zombie Nightmare on Elm Street TV series, movies, and so forth. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, a sequel. We all know a sequel is not coming, but then they share this as this is actually happening, and then
Yeah.
people spread that around like nobody's business. Now it's hit Twitter.
Yep.
Now Twitter has it because Elon is like, yeah, you get paid for the impressions. So now everyone's got like clickbait, hot takes, and it's just like, ugh.
I know we were going through one night doing like new movie reviews and stuff like that, and we were finding all these cool movies, but then you started looking at them, and it's just like, no, that's totally AI. That's not real. Like,
Yeah,
come on. And I mean, it's a good take, it's a good idea. And, whoever puts
yeah.
it together has great imaginations and they need to sell it to the studios to get them actually made. But yeah, it's just, there was like a Gremlins 3 or 4 or something like that, that they had like a trailer I was watching. And it's just like, really? They're bringing out another Gremlins movie? And then come to find out it was a deep fake. It's like, you got to be kidding.
I know it pisses me off and they get shared and shared and shared and of course these people who are creating them are making money off of lies.
Yeah.
I just
I
So
know.
want to say I would be all down for a Gremlins 4, 5, 6.
right?
And
I
it is
think
one of
that
those movies that,
since Flash and fucking Spider-Man both opened up the multiverse, There's a way to do it. We can have critters come down and have like a
Ah, I
fucking
love
Gremlins
critters.
Oh,
critters
Critters,
war.
yeah. Yeah,
You
that would be
know,
a good one, Critters versus Gremlins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be fun. I love the Krites. I love them. The TV series was good, but it only was like 6 episodes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those from, a lot of those movies that we grew up on that they try to turn into TV series, the generation just doesn't understand the lore behind them and doesn't understand the nostalgia behind them.
Yeah.
So there's not enough, not enough viewership, but and
here's
some
a,
of them they just shouldn't have done. But
if horror movies were categorized in Oscars, which I don't know if they're ever going to do,
They should.
um,
yeah,
they should. One of the most famous movies that I believe that should have a Best Actress award would be Cujo, the original Cujo movie, and the woman that played the mother in there. I can't remember her name, but it was such a convincing movie that as a kid, watching
Yeah.
that, you believe that this woman was in distress and trying to figure out how to survive this rabid dog trying to kill her and her
Yeah.
sick kid.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, she did a really, really good job. What the hell was her name? Deborah Wallace? Deborah
Things
Wallace. Yeah, she's a believe that was her name. I know I draw a blank sometimes when I have to
phenom.
think of actresses, but, it was a great movie. That was very intense and terrifying just knowing that you are trapped in a vehicle with this rabid dog.
Think about this though. They could do a remake of that now with Elon's electric cars.
Yeah, right?
Get stuck in an electric car with a rabid dog outside.
and I think Cujo was like one of the first movies that I got to watch on VHS. Like I said, a lot of the movies that I watched, back in the day, I watched a lot of old classics and stuff like that. Often, I didn't, like I said, I wasn't a theater buff when I was a real young kid, but I did watch a lot of VHS movies and stuff like that. I think Cujo was like one of them that when my mom heard about it, she wouldn't let me watch it, like for the longest time. So finally, I was over at a friend's house and we watched Cujo, and it's just like there's really, I mean, yeah, it's a scary movie, but there's really nothing bad
Yeah.
about it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I mean, that I could say, anyways.
No,
But
I introduced my kids to Stephen King's movies before I introduced them to anything else when they're young. So they don't get introduced to like slashers until they're a little bit older, but
yeah,
at 7 and 8, I introduced them to Stephen King films, specific ones. And
yeah.
then as they get a little older, then other ones because some of them can be pretty violent and
Well,
graphic, I should
the thing
say.
about Stephen King, yeah, that's a good. I mean, yeah, I mean, he's very controversial in a lot of things, but I mean, when he came to making movies and writing books, I mean, he did a real good job considering the fact that most of that stuff is like shit that he had nightmares about. It's like, what is going on in
Yeah,
your head, dude? But it's just like we,
yeah,
talked earlier that The Shining, was my favorite out of the Stephen King movies, next to probably Carrie or Christine. But I could watch The Shining. If it came on today, I could
I
watch it
can
today
watch
over and over and
both.
over.
I can watch both.
I mean, it was
I
bad to
found both to be so well done. Like I found Shining to be well done, and I found the sequel that they did, Doctor Sleep, to
yeah.
be just as well. Just
I like Dr. Sleep.
the female antagonist. I don't know her name, but she plays
Yeah,
such a good fucking wraith. Oh
she
my
does.
god! And for anybody that doesn't know, she's a wraith in that movie. She is a soul that has two demeanors, a nature and a demeanor, and she sucks what they know as. Oh, I'm learning about this right now because I'm playing D and
Um,
D.
it's like glimmer.
Um, yeah, like a light basically from souls, and like my favorite scene in that Doctor Sleep scene is when she realizes that that's Danny,
Yeah,
the kid, and she's like, "Oh, well, you smell good," like, but you smell old like whiskey.
yeah. It was a good movie.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, I think like with The Shining, I mean, the only thing I really because I did a lot of I did today while I was doing stuff and putting this together is like I did some deep diving on some of them and I didn't realize it. I always thought The Shining was actually filmed at the Stanley. It was not filmed at the Stanley. The Stanley wasn't even. It was the picture you see and all the outside of it is the Stanley, but that's it. Nothing else is the Stanley. No part of the rest of the movie is the Stanley except for the facade of the hotel that you see.
The
Yep,
horror
but the
movie
Stanley
was a
Hotel is haunted.
sound based.
Yeah,
It was a very sound based movie. I mean, you got prominent cello sounds in that movie. Like in most all the drama sections, you're hearing like cello and symphony. Very
like I said,
dramatic.
the basis to the book was off of Stephen King staying in room 217, but when they made the movie, it was made over. Where was it made in?
I don't remember where it was made. I know Stephen King hated it.
Yeah,
He hated Stanley Kubrick's, The Shining. He really liked Doctor Sleep because it was better done.
Explained.
Yeah,
What it did for me, okay, like, The Shining is great, but you don't get any in-depth reasons of why this dude is doing what he's doing, really. Like, that the kid is being affected because the kid is young enough to see these images, right? But
yeah,
the guy is not seeing any image. You don't ever see Jack Nicholson see any images of anything in front of him. So you're not understanding, and what I find that Doctor Sleep does is it explains what his dad was going through at the time,
yeah.
kinda.
And it's
oh
the place that's also, haunted or cursed,
Yeah.
yeah,
possessed, whatever. The
yeah.
hotel is alive. Like, another Stephen King is Red Rose.
Yes,
I love that movie too.
yep. I like Red Rose. Like I said, I liked Carrie,
Yeah, Carrie was good.
and because I was always kind of curious. I actually today I looked, I searched to find out exactly what his inspiration was for Carrie. You know, because I
Yeah,
always wanted to know because his inspiration, and it's funny because Carrie was one of
yep.
his first not or his first books. It was a short written as a short story that was published in Penthouse out of all of it.
Yeah,
But I researched it. It's based off of basically, I mean, in today's world, if people were actually research it and watch it, it would be based off of a perversion that he had. You know,
he
because he was a janitor in a high school.
he has a documentary. There is a documentary out that just came out, maybe earlier this year, maybe last year, all about Stephen King,
Really?
and his books and his movies, and it's a really good documentary. They go
Sounds like he
into,
should run
some of
for
his
president.
inspirations. What was that?
It sounds like he should run for president.
I don't know about
And
that.
he's on Twitter a lot,
He is on Twitter.
hating on Trump, so he'd be the
But
perfect
yeah,
person to be the candidate running on it.
yeah. But the whole thing with
I
Carrie
had
that
to
really
think of
threw the whole thing with Carrie that really threw me off was the fact that the two girls, you know, Carrie and the other lead woman, the lead character or female in the movie, was based off of his child or off of his time being a janitor in this school, and it was two girls that were in this school that, by the way that I read it, kind of like he had like an infatuation with or something.
Huh, interesting.
So, but yeah, those because one fit Carrie, the girl that played Carrie was based off of a girl called
Sissy Spacek?
yeah, but yeah, it says the girl referred to as Tina White who constantly bullied for wearing the same clothes during poverty was,
Yes.
and then another
Yeah.
girl called Sandra Irving who lived down the street from King, raised by a single religious mother, was a massive crucifix hanging above the couch. But and they said tragically, those two women never lived past 30 in real.
Yeah, and he that's in this documentary as well. They go through that, yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch that now because I mean I've always been a fan of Stephen King, and I don't care about his being controversial. He's a good writer. I mean that's one thing.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
a
he
good
is a good
writer,
writer.
and like I said, it always amazed me that most of his stuff that he come up with is a adaptation of stuff that is in his mind. I mean that he's either dreamed or He just comes up with it. It's weird.
Am I having a
Mhm.
I feel like I'm having a Mandela effect right now, but is Anne Rice gone? Uh, she's
Yeah,
dead now, right?
I believe she passed away.
And
Yeah.
rice. I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
believe
I
so. I remember hearing something about it, and that was probably a bit back, a couple of years back, at least maybe a
yeah,
couple of years back.
I was feeling like was or is she? Like I wasn't sure. I
Mm.
call them Mandela effects now. So yeah.
Um, trying to see.
We had Comic Con over this weekend here in Winnipeg where I live, and I didn't get to go.
Yeah,
Um,
Frightmare, right? Frightmare in the Falls?
this one was just Comic Con. It was just a
Oh,
lot
just a
of like
Comic-Con, okay.
yeah, just
That's
wrestlers and extras to movies. I would say like
Yep.
the guy that is flying in Star Wars and one of the X-wings is there, and it's like yeah, it's like World of Wheels basically. It's like
Well,
once you've
I
seen the
know.
Batmobile, you've seen them all.
Yeah, basically. In Niagara Falls this past weekend on the US side, there is Frightmare in the Falls, which is a horror con. Well, it's a convention primarily horror based, but there's sci-fi and other aspects in it. Then I like horror cons. I like going to them, but I haven't been to that one yet.
I'm not gonna lie. I haven't been to any. I don't know. It's not that I don't want to go. It's just it's again. It's one of those things that you got. I don't know. I just feel comfortable. I'm like an introvert, so it's like
Yep.
I'm more comfortable doing this than I am actually going out to those big places like that. But if I'm with somebody that is knowledgeable, I'll go with them because I like to learn. I like to learn about those things. But
Yeah.
so out of everything, I mean, when you started getting, I mean, how did you get into horror for one thing? I was always curious about that. What was your
When
your
I was little.
kicker?
Uh, My grandmother, she, showed us horror, when I was really young, and then, my aunt I was about 5, and the only reason why I know what movie it was is because my aunt was reminiscing. So my aunt was, like, 16 years old, she was babysitting me, and, Friday the 13th from 1980 came on the TV, and her and my other aunt, who were also young at that time, were watching it, but they had me in the room and they ran out, and left me in the room. They ran out scared and left me in the room. Did I know what was going on at that time? No, no idea at 5 years old what was happening. But my grandmother introduced us to horror, a lot of the older classic horror movies, Vincent Price.
Hmm.
Uh, and as I got older, Fangoria magazine, I had a newspaper route at 12. I was buying Fangoria magazines at the local 7-Eleven and the gas station. I'd be that kid with the magazine rolled up, like folded, like rolled, and in my back pocket,
Dreaming
Frankenstein's
about
monster.
buying the latex so that you can make your own mask, just like the kid
Yes,
in fucking Friday the
you'd go to
13th
the
new
yeah.
chapter. Fuck yeah.
X-ray glasses that you could
Right?
buy as well from them and all sorts of fun stuff. I That's how I got into horror. I was, a loner for most of I'm still a loner today, but growing up, I was a loner. I loved horror. I My favorite that I actually resonated with was Frankenstein's monster. As a young person, I was able to relate to Frankenstein's monster because he was an outcast. All he wanted to do was, be him, but of course he's a big clunky monster and people, so I was able to kind of relate to that as being a loner, not being a popular kid, being made fun of. So that movie, I read the book numerous times. I've watched the original Frankenstein's monster. I've watched all the other Frankenstein monster movies that were made. Well, that's how I got into it.
So out of all that, growing up, so like, who became your favorite director?
My favorite director, I love Clive Barker.
Mm.
I like them all. Clive Barker has just some kind of, I don't know, just romantic kind of vision for horror. I love John Carpenter's work. He's a master, like
Hellraiser,
Wes
right?
Craven.
Hellraiser, right?
Mhm.
Clive
Yeah.
Barker was Hellraiser, right? Because in Hellraiser, that is a when you watch that movie, you find out that it's a love triangle. Well, it's not really a love triangle. It's yeah,
It's
it was
craziness.
based. It was based on an affair.
Yes, yes, it was, and,
Like a
it's from
romantic
the
love
novella.
affair that yeah.
There's
A
actually 3
and
books in it, 3 books, novellas that should be read if you enjoy the Hellraiser franchise.
Mhm. My movie that has to this day still have like the core of my interest in horror films had to have been Evil Dead because
That's a good one.
um like I have it in my brain the scene where the two girls are like uh the one's reading cards and she's getting all the cards wrong, and this is 5 minutes after watching a a grape scene of trees that
Oh my
this
lord, right?
he said that that he was going to take that scene out,
He
or
regretted that scene.
like he regretted it, but he felt that the movie was justified, that he needed that scene for the next scenes to
I
make
think
it
the scene was
seem
needed.
it,
Why
it
censor
was it
horror?
was because that for me that scene, I don't even like repeating it in my head because it's so violent. It's
Yeah,
such a violent scene, and the woman does such a great job in that in there. But then, like right after that, there's no word of her. It's just silent. And it's just all of a sudden the demeanor of the film changes to them having convos in a nice lit room, you know, guessing cards, and then you just hear this demonic voice answering the correct cards, and then then it switches over to this woman just standing in midair, twitching.
I know, that's creepy.
The
I don't
greatest scene ever.
it's such a good movie, and they were just, goofing around and trying to get things done. He created so
The
many
laughing woman. Oh my
visuals.
god!
Yeah,
Like
they were insane. Like, Evil Dead's a great possession movie because the Deadites possess, and then I mean, they possess your dead body or even live body, and I don't think horror needs to be censored.
no,
That
no.
scene well, it's horror. We live in everyday life that's a horror in itself, and life isn't censored. I don't think horror needs to be censored. One of my favorite films that basically say horror doesn't need to be, um censored is Necromantic. Pretty sure neither of you have seen that movie, or if you have, I'm surprised.
Haven't seen it. I've heard of it though.
Necromantic is a German film, German-made film by, a young director at that time who was, fighting against the censorship of horror, and I don't think horror should be censored. Not at all. I mean, have age limits on it, obviously. You don't want a 5-year-old or a 13-year-old going into seeing Necromantic, but
I consider horror this in the same genre. Like it's a fine line between comedy and horror, really,
yeah,
because with comedy you're going to an extreme, and with horror you can go to the most extremes. So, like,
yes,
I really like the Saw movies, and I
yeah,
ended up using the Saw movies to explain to my kids how things are fake, right?
yeah,
Because when I had them, I had DVDs at the time. My kids were about 10, 11. They thought that when people died in movies, it was real. And right. So then
Mm.
I used those DVDs and how they, because they had like the at the end scenes of like how they made all the contraptions and everything else. So that it was my way of like explaining to my kids of the new generation of, hey,
yeah.
what you're watching is not real. It's all made up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what was so great about Fangoria magazine is you got to see behind the
Yeah.
scenes of how things were made, how things were done, interviews with the directors and the special effects people, and they showed you in pictures how they put together, let's say Jason Voorhees, young Jason's face, and there's pictures of Savini doing things, right? And I think that was really great. I find it sad that a young person at the age of 12 getting into horror can't afford a Fangoria magazine.
I wish
Yeah.
that they stayed alive to this day, like like that were because it was a small-lived magazine,
They
even
came back.
though they are back now.
They
My
are back.
favorite,
They've been back for a little bit now, but their magazines are I mean, I understand inflation time, everything is expensive, But no 12-year-old having a paper route is gonna be able to afford a 22 well, in my country's money, $22, magazine.
Yeah.
Yes, they're beautifully printed, don't get me wrong, the paper is nice and thick, it's nothing like it used to be, because I have my collection of Fangoria, but it's nothing like it used to be. There's still really good information, there's lots of behind the scenes stuff, outcoming new movies, indie stuff, a lot of great information. It's just that a 12-year-old isn't affording that kind of magazine where when I was young, I was able
Yeah.
to go get Monsters and Fangoria and be able to read that and be intrigued by horror. Now,
Have you seen Smile too?
not yet. I loved Smile, so I like those kind of movies. I
I
love
want to
It
give you a
Follows.
film. A buddy of mine, on my stream, his name is Gorilla Griffin. I don't like doxing him in real life, but he actually did a film. He was the actor in this film. That the director from the original Smile. It was his first attempt of a horror film. It's called The Behind, I believe. It's about a like a woodland creature
Hmm,
basically. Yeah. I'll definitely remember to get Rebel to give it to you, but you'll
yeah, for
really enjoy
sure.
it.
Definitely.
Okay. So talking about natural, I was thinking of something else. I guess I haven't heard of this one, but I chat GPT'd it just to kind of get some breakdown of what it was. And it literally, like at the end of the description of the movie, it says, "Due to the extreme nature of this film, I cannot continue to for description." So that's if Chat GPT can't give it to you, and the one I use, it's not Chat GPT, but the one I use usually like gives everything out. So if it's not going to go any further into what the content or the description of it is, it must be a very bad movie or like
Are you
a
looking at
horror movie.
Necromantic?
Yeah.
Necromantic is about necrophilia.
Yeah. Yeah. It
But it's
says
such a good movie. It's practical effects, obviously. Once you understand the meaning behind the film, I don't know, I that's what I like about shocking and disturbing because shocking and disturbing subgenre in horror is my favorite. It's majority of those films have messages in them, but you're just so shocked by what you're watching, you totally miss the message. Cannibal Holocaust had that in there. The remake of Cannibal Holocaust technically is Green Inferno by Eli Roth, another message in that one. Necromantic also had a message in that one. There's a whole bunch, but
it said only could be shown in adult theaters.
Necromantic, yeah.
I was thinking of a totally different movie.
Before anybody goes and tries to watch Necromantic, forewarning, necrophilia,
Yeah, banned in several
yeah,
countries, developed
major.
a significant cult following.
I
Sparked
own, 1 and 2, I own the collector's edition. It's a good movie, like, it's a well-made movie. It's messed up, and yes, if anyone does wanna go and see it, trigger warning, it does have 1 animal violence in it. 1 piece of animal violence.
Yeah, it says the corpse, it took 3 to 4 weeks to build. It cost $200.
That was the most expensive thing, was the
Yeah.
corpse
Uh,
in the movie.
and
Yeah,
it
I
says
deep
used a
dived that
real
one.
instead of used a real pig's eye for certain scenes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes me wanna go see it now. I mean,
Go see it. I will tell you the
I don't
trigger
know where I can
warning,
find it though, but
um, I can send you a link. You're talking to the queen of shocking and disturbing.
Oh,
I
by the
can
way,
send you a
it's
link.
The Hide Behind. The Hide Behind is the film I'm talking. It's a short film.
No,
Hide
okay.
Behind. It's Parker Finn, who was the person that produced Smile. It's his first. It's like a short film basically that
Yeah.
with a buddy
Like,
of mine.
Damian Leon's so Art the Clown, came out long time ago in a short film, so where we know that he's from the Ninth Circle of Hell, which was, I think, I wanna say 2006. We have the short film that was on YouTube, and then he created a longer film, called All Hallows Eve, and then Terrifier, and Art the Clown has been played by a couple of people, but it's like that as well. He started as a short movie. That was his first, like, movie.
Yeah.
see, and that's another thing. It's like, okay, so my biggest fear, I had 3 biggest fears in my entire life. That's porcelain dolls. I cannot stand a room with porcelain dolls. They freak me out.
They're creepy.
And spiders and clowns. I mean, clowns don't like terrify me, but
Yeah.
it's just like
I don't
it,
like clowns. I'm not afraid of them. I just don't like them.
yeah. It's just like I think because I think when I grew up, I think one of those being home alone and stuff like I said, the TV was my friend, and
Yeah.
it's like I watched. I think it was like Clowns from Outer Space, and even though it was a stupid movie,
As a kid, it's scary.
yeah, it's just like it made you really think twice about clowns. And then
It
it came
did.
out.
And then you hear about John Wayne Gacy because
Ah,
the Killer Clowns is as a kid, Killer Clowns is scary. I mean, let's get real. You're an 8-year-old watching Killer Clowns. That shit's scary. Then you in the time because that came out in what the 80s, and then you
mhm,
had John Wayne Gacy, a real life killing clown.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, it's just like back in, the movies like back because I was researching that too today. It's like what inspired a lot of these movies back in the day. It's just like Children of the Corn, to go back
yeah,
to like Stephen of the King. Children of the Corn was inspired by Charles Manson and Ted Bundy
yeah.
and the serial killer and the religious cults of that day.
Oh yeah, yeah. Tons are like that.
That it's just like,
Scream, the
yeah,
Gainesville Ripper. You've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, lightly based on Ed Gein. A
Kane,
lot of movies are based on Ed Gein, Silence of the Lambs. A
yeah,
lot of them are real life pulled
yeah,
into the movie.
yeah,
That's why I don't think it should be censored. Life isn't censored. Horror shouldn't be censored.
See,
yeah,
I love here's a retrospect. I love Silence of the Lambs,
It's a
but
great
I
movie.
much prefer and thought that he did like a great ending, like a coup de grace in Hannibal.
Yeah.
Was like for me, it was like that movie was specially made for Anthony Hopkins to show who that dude was.
I love Anthony Hopkins. He's such an amazing actor. So versatile in his acting as well. Not many actors can do that. Not many actors can pull off the versatility that he pulls off. It's like
Well,
Christian Bale.
he also had a great cast, though. I
Oh, yeah,
mean, when you've got
100%.
like the brain scene, I mean, that guy played that scene to epic
Oh,
proportions.
whatchamacallit? Yeah,
Uh,
he just recently passed away.
yeah, I can't
Oh
remember.
my
Yeah,
lord.
Goodfellas. Everybody is
Yeah, I can't
killing
think of
us
his
right
name at the
now.
moment. It's on the tip of my tongue. Ray Liotta.
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah.
Sitting there trying to think, I'm like, "I know it."
You can watch Necromantic on Shutter.
Yeah, most likely.
So I
I'll tell you of a website in a DM, and you can check it out. I just don't
okay,
want this website taken down. Like,
yeah,
I hate when content creators on TikTok mention this website. It's like, shut the fuck up because it gets out there. This website's been running for like 10 years and or more or longer, and it's a great website to get some of the movies that you can't find anywhere else because of the content. And you're not watching like real snuff films or anything. I
yeah,
mean, I'm sure they could be found. It's not like that. It's just like there's a lot of movies that you cannot find anywhere that are on this site. And I have people on TikTok that are, I watch this on blah, blah. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Don't tell the world about this site because technically it's a legal site, but putting movies on a website for people to watch for free is pirating,
yeah.
I do
right?
know. Talking about the smut movies that you're talking about, like there were a genre in the early or
Yeah.
late '90s and 2000s of smut movies like Hostel. Uh, um, uh, I can't remember a lot of the names, but the one that's in my head right now is Hostel. Is one where it's like showing
2000 that
like
came out around the same time as Saw came out. A lot of people call that
yeah,
like a torture porn kind of thing. They consider, Saw and Hostel,
but
torture
it
porn kind of
is a
movies.
smut. Like it is like glorifying smut, basically. Like what people would be like considering what smut would be
Yeah,
on the internet, especially Saw, for instance, like because he's sending all these videotapes, to it is kind of like a crime horror smut movie.
Yeah, like Faces of Death when it came out way
Oh,
back in the
oh
day.
my god! I
As a
used to
kid, that was a rite
pay
of
people to tell
passage.
me where I could find a copy was.
Yeah, Faces of Death was a rite of passage growing up
Yeah,
on our time. It really
yep.
was. You couldn't rent it, so you always had your 16-year-old brother, a friend's brother, rent it for you, and then everyone was like, "Did you see the movie Necromantic?" Not
There,
Necromantic, Faces of
it,
Death, and then
yeah.
you find out that none of it's real.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, okay, like, well, there were some things that were real. Like the first two were originally like the
There's
documentary, I
reenactments
believe.
and
Yeah,
photos. None of it's real.
really,
Yeah,
not even
no.
the electrocution.
No, that's all fake, and that was
Oh
actually set up.
my
I did a deep
god!
dive into oh
Oh
shit, I
my
did a
god!
deep
I am
dive
so
into
upset now.
necromantic on
I
my
am
mind, damn it.
so upset. See, like I knew the alligator scene was as even as a kid. I was like, come on,
So,
Some of
like
them are
I mean, the bot.
reenactments of what actually happened, and they use real pictures. It
yeah,
was actually made for Japanese because the Japanese production company wanted a very shocking and disturbing film, and that's actually how Faces of Death came to light. But then again, when we were younger, it actually seemed real, and it wasn't until the internet and people putting information on
yeah.
the internet do we find out that it's really not it's not real at all. There are some real reenactments, and I
I
mean
still got
reenactments
a
and
vision of a
photos.
monkey spinning.
The monkey scene, yeah, that whole scene is fake as well.
So
Oh
the
my!
so even the suicide that they filmed with the guy falling off and actually literally watching the guy bounce.
The construction one, I
Yeah.
think that one might have been somewhat real. I have to go through my notes. I did a deep dive on,
Wow.
Faces of Death. I have to go through my notes because, the majority of it is not real.
I mean, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I figured out that.
the pictures are, yes.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
is a
that was
one
Dude,
scene with the construction
you've
scene that's
ruined my
perfectly real.
childhood of hiding in my bedroom and hiding this videotape from my fucking mom for like a week and a half,
Oh, yeah,
right?
I know, I did the same thing too. We weren't
Just
allowed to
so I
watch
could
it.
watch this with my friends.
Yep,
didn't
the kids
didn't
No,
they
nowadays
no.
just don't get it.
didn't they try to come out and reprise that, like, later on? Didn't they try to do.
They're actually just recently, they're redoing a Faces
Okay.
of Death, and you know what? Cool, but it's really hard to get that it's
It's
impossible
not going to
to
be
get
the
that
same
same
because,
reaction that you got back in the day when we were
No.
kids. You're not getting that.
yeah, you're not. You're not
That
gonna
era is gone. It's gone, it's never coming back.
Yeah, I was
like
I
recent. Here's a death that recently has made it back into the Fast and the Furious.
Oh, yeah.
His alleged death, and apparently that Diddy Combs has got something to do with it.
Who
Paul
knows? I
Walker?
think Hollywood is filled with
Yeah,
perverts
Walker.
and
Yeah,
disgusting people. Keep your
apparently
children
Paul
out.
Walker was supposed to be going to a Diddy party and decided not to, and then all of a sudden ended up in a horrific accident.
That's a life that's sad that we lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a yeah. Hollywood, yeah, Hollywood is messed up, and I think with all these coming
Even
out
before
videos.
Diddy, Hollywood was messed up.
Yeah.
Well before Diddy. Look at Corey.
Oh,
Look at the Coreys. Look
Yeah.
at Mel Gibson
Yeah.
coming out and being blacklisted because of what he voiced.
I mean, if you go back, like, because there's actually, like, I mean, like, the homosexuality in Hollywood, because back in the day, there was a lot of homosexual actors. I mean, there
Oh,
was a
yeah.
ton, but it wasn't like frowned upon in like society. I mean, it was to a point, but not like it came out later on, where it was bad to be this and bad to be that. But it was like in the Hollywood little realm of things, it wasn't shunned, but you couldn't broadcast it publicly that you were.
Right, right.
So everything you did
Not,
was like,
I would agree with you, not in the movie and the theater business, but in the
In
music
Hollywood's
business.
little
Yeah.
circle, you could
yeah,
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
whoever you wanted to
yeah,
be because they always had some kind of crazy orgies and shit going on. I mean, I've
yeah,
heard stories of some of the old actors that aren't even with us today, the kind of parties that they used to throw. And
yeah.
you find these out in, like, autobiographies.
There's a series, I can't remember exactly what it's called now, but there's a series on Netflix that they stopped making, but it talks
Mhm.
about like this gas station that was like a front for homosexuality, for
Mm.
basically escorting and prostitution for homosexuals.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just a series, and and it talked about all the different ones. So I started like researching all these different people. And it's like, oh my god, it's like I didn't realize. I mean, I knew there was some like Clark Gable and all of them. I knew they were homosexuals, but
Anthony Perkins, like,
yeah,
there's a ton. But again, in a time where they had to hide who they were, right? Like, they had to hide who they were.
yeah,
The 70s and 80s was pretty fucking rough.
yeah. And going back to like that era, it's like Alfred Hitchcock.
Yep.
Some and in this series it shows like all these Hollywood elites and stuff like that in these big parties, kind of like Diddy parties, back in the day. And
Yeah, there's a really good documentary drama of, Alfred Hitchcock, which is really interesting. It's a really good one if you like his kind of movies and,
is that the one that has, oh, what's his name in it that played oh, I think he just passed away here not too long ago too.
um, let me see. Let me see if I can get I think it's called Hitchcock, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I think I watched
Um,
that one.
Alfred Hitchcock.
'Cause I think that's the one that where it came about to where it showed to where how he came with the idea for Psycho
Yeah, oh
was
god, there's a
off
whole
of
bunch of them. I Am
his.
Hitchcock is one. That's an actual documentary of him. And then Psycho Legacy, and then Dial H for Hitchcock. There's a ton of documentaries. I didn't know that, but I did watch one of them, and it was really good. It had his wife in there and how dedicated they were
Yeah.
to creating this, even though it took all of their money, and it was just blew me away
His
on the
wife apparently
dedication.
hated the actress that he chose originally.
Um, Jamie Lee Curtis's mom?
Yeah, apparently, Hitchcock's wife hated the choice that
There's
he
a
chose.
possibility.
Was apparently rude to her, like, on set all the time, and, just thought
There's
she
a
wasn't the part.
possibility.
Yeah.
But I can't remember where it is, and I can't remember the dude that played him. But in the one I watched, it showed that his inspiration for Psycho was that his ability to channel Ed Gaines. You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
he had an infatuation with Ed Gaines,
Yeah.
and that's how supposedly Ed Gaines like came to him in like dreams and stuff like that, and told
Ah.
him how to how to make this character and how to do this, and it's like,
Well, you have to think about some of these authors and directors that create these kind of films. What's going on in there?
yeah. But I think that's what made it's what made the horror genre so popular back in our day of growing up, is the fact that, like I said, you had the magazines that showed you like Van Gogh and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You had all of these different iconic people that had all this imagination and everything, that grew up, probably had it all the way, but they didn't start like able to produce it until after technology caught up, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
I don't
for their
disagree
time.
because the VHS market fucking made it for a lot of,
Oh,
rated
yeah.
horror. Like, one of my favorite. Just before we got on Rebel, I was talking about this. Is Chud. It's probably one of my favorite movies. It's
Yep.
the most B-rated movie that you could. It's scary though.
Ted
It's
is good.
it's a good movie, and you see the guy from Home Alone in that movie, so you get to see him in a different role that he. Yeah, it's weird.
Ted's a good movie. Well, Home
Ghoulies,
Video made a lot of movies.
Ghoulies. Oh my god, I love
Ghoulies.
Ghoulies.
Hmm.
I Nothing beats a little green man fucking coming out of a trailer.
Yep.
Yeah,
Little
Ghoulies is funny, the
baby,
little
green
toilet
baby with
gum.
lots of teeth.
yeah. Imagine that one.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Freddy. It's like when I very first watched. I think is the first Friday the 13th, or not Friday the 13th. The first Nightmare on Elm Street. Is that the one with the waterbed in it?
Yes,
Yeah,
with,
Johnny Depp's first movie.
Yeah,
Glenn's character. Yeah, Johnny Depp's character, Glenn.
yeah. That was the very first one, and I stayed at my sister's house, her and her husband, and they went out, and I stayed there. it's kind of like babysitting. I put, my nephew to bed and stuff like that, and I went to go watch this movie because they asked me what movie I wanted to rent, and I told them it's like, well, it's a talk of the school. I want to watch Nightmare on Elm Street, and yeah, I couldn't sleep on a waterbed for like months. And of course, I had a water bed where I stayed at my sister's house,
Yep.
so I slept on the couch every time I stayed there because I could not sleep on a water bed.
Oh,
See,
water beds, man, that was scary shit there.
in my
I could
old
never sleep
age
on
and
a water
being
bed.
in my old age and being a stand-up, I've used horror movies to avoid my in-laws from showing up because I know that my brother-in-law does not like Elm Street movies. So if I hear he's coming by, I put on a Nightmare on Elm Street movie on because he can't stand it, and they don't stay long. And then
Yeah,
if my
that's a
mother-in-law comes over, it's a Friday the 13th movie because she can't stand hearing.
ah,
So,
kill,
And that's
kill, kill.
yeah.
yeah, that's also the thing back in the day. It's just like we had iconic, just like three notes or three, not very much of a soundtrack to a movie that just made you shiver every time you heard it. It's like
Oh, the
Halloween
franchise
movies.
was amazing at a time, like the Bladed Hand, man. I would, stay up late at night just to scare my brothers, like, oh yeah, you know,
It's like
fucking
I remember doing the kill, 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 cha, cha,
Yeah,
cha, cha. And it would freak everybody out because they all knew that it was part of Jason.
yep,
yeah.
And then if you ever heard the Halloween, the three notes of Halloween that went viral,
yep.
it's just like that. You knew exactly when you heard those tones or those soundtracks that was going to be the movie.
Yeah, there's some creepy sounds.
Just
I
goes to
can't,
show.
hear the song, the Sandman song, without thinking of the movie Halloween,
Oh,
because that's in the opening of, Halloween.
mhm.
Do, 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 do. And it's like, "Yeah, okay, Michael's coming."
See, and going to the Halloween movies and stuff like that, real quick, is just like I got confused. I really did. I don't know if it was on purpose. I don't know if anybody else did or if it was just me, but I got confused about Jamie Lee Curtis's character. Like in the first one, because the first one she was the babysitter,
Yes.
and then but it never. I mean, and to me, unless I missed something, never really portrayed that Michael was her brother.
They do, throughout the film, and then, see, when you watch Halloween, you need to watch Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 as one
Yeah,
movie,
yeah,
because it's exactly one movie. They do come out and, in there that, Donald Pleasance, Dr. Loomis, says that, Laurie, he came back for his sister.
yeah. I mean, like I said, and that's just it too. It's like if you don't watch Halloween 2 and you just stop on Halloween 1 and you jump into the ones that are now, you have no clue what the whole thing is.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me is I was like, I literally had to go back and watch Halloween 1, Halloween 2 again just to get refreshed on what was going on. And then it dawned and then it clicked. It's like, oh, it's like a two-parter. You got to watch both of them to get the gist of the storyline.
Yeah, and they were saying that Halloween 2018 is supposed to be a direct sequel to Halloween,
Mm.
but then they changed the whole lore where Jamie is not his sister. And
Yeah.
then they just went crazy with it. So I consider that a universe of Halloween, not an actual part of the Halloween franchise.
Yeah. Yeah. See that like I
It
said, it does
like
get
the last
confusing.
one I saw was more of like a Halloween with like a female Rambo.
That was probably
Yeah,
what was
what's her name? Sarah Connor.
Sarah
Laurie
Connor.
Strode turned from a quiet, good girl in Halloween franchise to Sarah Connor. And I
Yeah,
could see her changing a little bit and getting tougher, but yeah, they totally made her into a Sarah Connor, where in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2002, 2020 or 2022 that came out, turned Sally Hardesty into a Texas Ranger. And you can see that happening with Sally Hardesty because of how she escaped the Sawyer family, jumping out the window, her friends murdered, and she was trying to
yeah.
find out the family so she can get justice, and you can see her turn into a Texas Ranger. whereas Laurie Strode turns into Sarah Connor. I didn't like that.
There was
Yeah.
also another Halloween where Jamie Lee Curtis dispatches Michael Myers at the end. I think it's Halloween 2K or
To
Halloween
H2O.
H2O, yes.
Yeah.
Halloween H2O, where I get confused of like, well, you
She had a
already
son.
did, yeah. So he
H2O,
was,
she had a son, and then when they did the new chapters, she has a daughter who has a daughter. So Laurie is a grandma, but Laurie isn't related to Michael anymore.
Yeah.
But in
Yeah.
H2O, she
Jesus.
was still related to
So the
Michael.
whole Halloween series is based off of her having some issues.
Issues with her brother, and then they decided to change the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't mind changing things, but you literally threw out the original. Jason is no, I mean, Michael isn't even scary anymore. He can't be considered the shape in the new 3 films. And the reason what made Michael scary is he wasn't a juggernaut in your face of death. He was the creepy shadow, the thing you thought you saw, but you weren't
Yeah.
sure, so you're gonna go investigate it. That's what made Michael scary. In these 3 films, he turns out to be a Jason, because his kills are he's no longer the shape. He comes right out and kills you. Jason's always come right out and kill you. Jason's never
Yeah,
stalked you and, hid in the shadows. He hid to jump out at you to get you. But Michael and Jason were always different. In the new 3 series that they have, I for me, it seems like they were trying to make him like Jason Voorhees, and he doesn't have to be because he's scary the way he is.
yeah,
Yeah.
the original Mike Myers was way more menacing because he was a silent killer. Not only the
Yeah,
fear factor of him
the
coming out of the
boogeyman.
shadow, yeah,
Yeah.
it was so
He's
fearful
called the shape
that
for a reason.
when he did it, the people that he was doing it to had nothing but gasps. You know, like you're literally just watching him manhandle somebody. And I
Yeah.
remember that from the originals.
Yeah.
Where
Well,
Jason was more comic. It was like, how many different ways can we take somebody naked and put them upside down and like on a door and
Yeah,
you know,
basically,
have
his
their
kills
head
were always
sliced
in your
through a
face, over the top,
yeah.
his kills. I mean, Michael's kills were over the top as well, but they weren't so in your face because he got them when they least expected it. Just seen something in the hallway? Well, I'm gonna go investigate it anyway because it was nothing, and then boom, you're dead.
yeah.
Friday the 13th was the only time that I got to see Rosie O'Donnell back, which should be happening, but for some reason she's still alive. Probably the Vitican that makes her racist and she can say things.
um. So I'll close out the night. I know Candyman. Candyman has been like, because that was one of my
Mm.
very first ones that I really got into. That that it was one of those ones. It's like, yeah, it doesn't look like really exciting, but then I watched it and it's like, holy shit! It's like it's really good. Well,
Yeah.
it's based on. I mean, it's got some. It's based on a story, a true storyline.
Yep.
And see, and those what get
Uh-huh.
me. If I find, because I like psychological thrillers, I like stuff
Yeah.
that happens and that is happening in real life. It's a lot of times the reasons why I can't watch the Saw movies, even though I know they're fake, but that shit can happen in real life with
100%.
all the psychotic people that we have out there today.
The new Candyman for
And
me, I gotta be honest, the new Candyman for me really confused me. I prefer the original Candyman,
I
the
like the
original with
sequel.
the actors.
Oh, not the sequel, the
Uh,
remake.
the remake to me was like it was good, but very kind of confusing to me. You
My
know, it
only
was
gripe
almost
with
like he was reprising the role of the female. It was like,
almost, right? What I didn't care for Candyman, the remake, is the off-screen kills. I hate off-screen kills.
oh yeah,
There was numerous off-screen kills that should have been on-screen kills. That was my only gripe with the remake of Candyman.
I mean, what do you think? Do you probably think you did that because of the generation and all the
I don't know.
possibilities that
I
they're
don't
showing
know
in the
why,
movies, or what?
DaCosta, I don't know why she did that.
because like I said, that's kind of what I felt too. It's just like when I watched it, it's just like it didn't give any basis. To me, it didn't feel like the original Candyman. It
Yeah,
didn't.
there was not a lot of on-screen kills, and there was one epic scene where he's, in the elevator and he's looking she's in her apartment and that big you see the big glass,
Mhm.
and she's being, like, thrown around and the kill, you don't see it. Then the other guy in the art museum or whatever it was, he gets killed, but you don't see it, and it's just
Yeah,
like, that was lame. Lame.
yeah. Um, and out of the new ones that have come out, what's that one? Megan, have you seen Megan?
I've seen it.
What do you think about it? I
It was
haven't seen it
alright.
yet, so I
It
mean,
was
like it's
It's
alright. I mean, it's not a
another
horrible made
version.
movie.
Yeah, it's another version of Chucky, basically.
Yeah, but she
Uh,
doesn't have the Chucky status,
yeah,
and she won't.
right. I mean, but at the same time, so like that's another movie I just recently watched. Like the original Chucky can't beat.
Child's
Like
Play? Good movie.
yeah.
yeah, I saw the new version with the Android version of Chucky, and it
Oh
just did
God,
not. I like
2019 Child's Play.
yeah,
yeah.
it was fun to watch. A version of Child's Play, but the original actor doing that
Dee
voice of
Wallace.
Chucky.
Shit, sorry about that. Dee Wallace, the lady in the blonde hair. Remember I told you that I couldn't remember her name? I
Oh,
thought it was Deborah Wa Dee Wallace.
D
There it
Wallace.
is. Like, I couldn't think about it and it came into my sorry, I've got the whole ADHD brain
hey,
going on, so I have to tell you before I forget again.
it's all good. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I know there was a movie that I watched because I like like vampire movies and stuff like that too. There was a movie I watched there. I can't remember the name of it, but it's with a little girl that's a vampire, and she's actually the protagonist in the
Abigail.
yes, Abigail. That movie there, totally. I mean, with the previews of it, you kind of got the gist of it, but it's just like
It's a good
watch,
movie.
watching it and getting to figure out that at the end of it, she was actually not wanting to be the person that she was wanting to be. What she was created. You
It's a
know,
good movie.
yeah. So yeah, I suggest anybody watch Abigail. I watched that one just a few nights ago. It's like that's pretty damn good.
I tried watching The Conjuring, but I'm not allowed to watch movies late at night like that. Like my wife does not let me watch. Like I try.
Conjuring,
Like,
Conjuring is kind of. I
it's
mean,
a good movie.
like I said,
I like the Conjuring universe.
I'm a spirit bound horror
yeah.
film. You know,
Oh yeah, anything has
uh,
ghosts in it, or
the
something that has to
original,
do with the occult and stuff like that.
the original Paranormal Activity.
Mm.
Good movie. Good innovation of a movie. I thought it was an advancement over the original Blair Witch, which was great.
Do you realize
Um,
those were fake, right?
absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely. But
just
the
making sure.
idea and the innovation of it, the idea, the innovation of doing something like that, making it look like a film,
They're actually
and
talking about
coming
coming
up.
out with another Blair Witch. He's talking about. I think he's talking about redoing it.
See,
Hmm.
I my one of my new horror films that like I like sci-fi horror as well, right? So the Quiet Place and the Quiet Ones has been in that line, and I've enjoyed all three. All three. Quiet Place Day One was a
Yeah, they were good.
fantastic film. Fantastic film.
But
Fantastic film about cancer too.
Yeah.
So
but all right, well, I'm gonna let you get off of here since I know. But I really do appreciate it. I love it. Like I said, if you guys have not checked her content out when she does her coffee shop of horrors, she does a lot of deep dives. Like I said, the one we watched today about Rangoon,
Yeah.
which is the North American version's The Ring, right?
Yep.
And,
Which is
and I
good. They're both good.
and I didn't realize either. It's just like I mean that there was two different ones. I mean, so that I learned something new today as well.
That's the whole point of Coffee Chat of Horrors is to give some education on horror, things that we may not have known. A lot of people didn't realize that The Ring was a remake of Ringu from 1998.
Yeah, I didn't. Like I said,
Japanese horror.
I mean, I knew it had something to do with Japanese because of the fact of, the character in The Ring, they kept pretty close to the original in Rangoon. Didn't
Sadako, and then
yeah,
in, The Grudge, Ju-on is,
yeah.
Kayako. Kayako and Sadako.
So, but it was sad to hear that they didn't actually that the Rangoon didn't make that much in the box office because from what
No,
you
but in
described and
Japan,
stuff
it
like
it
that.
it was a hit in Japan.
But I mean, I wonder if that's the reason why they made a North America version of it to try to.
North America remakes everything though. The Office, Ghosts, like they North America remakes a lot of movies that or TV shows that were made in other countries. They do that a lot.
Yeah, did you see their what is it? The UK is coming out with another thing of The Office.
Australia.
Australia, yeah,
Yep, because it came out originated in the UK, then
yeah.
the North America came out with their own, and now Australia is coming out with their own.
So yeah, I'm kind of curious because I like The Office, so I'm gonna see if I can't figure out how to watch. Hopefully, they have it on some channels.
Yeah.
Have you okay, so, you've probably seen the North American version of Office, right, Rebel? But have you ever watched the UK version of it?
No,
Like, I find that the
I didn't
UK
even know they
version is
had one.
far more funnier.
It's a different kind of comedy
Yeah.
Yeah.
between the UK
Oh,
and the US, different kind of comedy.
I mean, hell, you look at Benny Hill. I mean,
Love Benny Hill.
I mean, Mr. Bean, all of those came from over there.
Oh, Mr. Bean is awesome.
All those great comedy shows come from over there.
Yeah.
But all right, Reanimator. Well, I appreciate you stopping in and chatting with us a little bit
Yeah,
and sharing your things. But like I said, if you guys have not checked her out, make sure you go check her out on her Twitch channel when she plays games and everything else. She plays a lot of Friday the 13th games.
I
What's
love
what's your
Friday
game?
the 13th.
What's your game now?
Um, I'm addicted to Diablo,
Are
but
you?
I still play Friday the 13th on Fridays, and I play Diablo on Wednesdays, and I'm trying out the new game, A Quiet Place,
Oh, I
here
seen
next
that.
week.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's gonna have so much, like, alien isolation written all over it,
Probably, I
so
haven't tried it yet, but I'll let you know.
I want that game. I want that game so bad, but I know that it's gonna be one of those catch-22s where I'm gonna get it, and then I'm gonna rarely fucking play it.
yeah,
Yeah.
you'll get it for like 2 hours and then uninstall it. Um, but yeah, make sure you go check her out on her Twitch at Reanimator. Go check her
Yeah.
out on YouTube also. That's where she does, she does all of her channels. And now the time is 11 a.m. every Sunday, or Mountain Time.
Yeah.
So check out the Coffee Shop of Horrors. Like I said, I've known Reanimator. What it's going on? What six,
Probably like
7 years now?
7 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, I know. I always sit there and say in content creator world, it's kind of like dog years. For every
Yeah.
year you're in it, it's like 3 years in.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Thank you so
But
much for having me on. It's, been great. I like talking horror.
yeah, yeah, I figured it's like, oh, it's Halloween. Let me see if she has time to do something. I know it was last
Yes,
minute,
I
so I
did.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It was very nice to meet you, and, there, Gunny.
Yeah.
And
Have a good night.
check us out. We'll be back on probably Wednesday night, depending on what my schedule is at work, because my new job is kind of sucks. So I don't know when I'm going to be on again. But check us out Wednesday night for another Two Old Dudes podcast, and stay tuned for other stuff. But yeah, make sure you go check out Reanimator because she is an awesome content creator.
Oh, thank
And I'm
you.
not just saying that as a friend. I'm saying that because she is, and she really engages with her community and everything else. And if you have any questions about horror, she is the person to go to. Let me tell you. But all right, we'll talk to you guys later. You guys have a good rest of your night.
Okay, you too.